have a super amazing interview coming up for you with my guy, Zach. He's the beverage director out here at Pinballs Kingdom. Zach is somebody who I had a chance to connect as he signed up for a speed rails tournament, I think about a year ago. Came in, he's competed in a ton of different competitions. He's part of the USBG out here in Austin. I think he may be assistant president. So he's a guy who's very familiar with the industry trade, industry networking, but he's also familiar with the competition circuit and what it does for your professional development. I mean, the guy's under 25. He's out here working with a venue that does a ton of revenue, has a lot of different rotating, missing pieces, and he's able to operationalize that. So I like to always get insight from people like him. And when it comes to events, especially, as I know that I'm always trying to find compatible venues for me to bring my event concepts to those of my clients, he's a guy that also understands the ins and outs of it. So sitting down in this interview, seeing what makes his event development process so special, as well as how bartenders can start throwing their own events to get their hand in the game and start understanding how it works and how they can benefit from it. We touch deep on some strategies. So definitely make sure you listen to this interview. Reach out to me if you have any questions, if you're ready to get started and launch this for your own personal brand or for your venue. In the hospitality industry, my strongest stance is that I believe the investments should be geared toward event development departments instead of just your traditional social media managers. Have Zach here with me, beverage director here at Pinballs out here in Austin on the outskirts of town. You know, these type of venues, they have to be creative, especially when you guys have such a massive amount of space. I know you guys do that, developing in-house event programming. Go ahead, tell me some of your ideologies around the event development process.
So a lot of what we do as far as like events goes is dedicated towards bringing in a weekly, consistent, regular basic customers. We are an arcade bar, we bring in a lot of families, we bring in a lot of like corporate parties, people that you come in at least once, maybe twice within the span of like 6 months to a year. It's not something that you come to regularly, so that's where these weekly events come into play. We talked about it last time. We had like music karaoke on Mondays. We had music trivia on Fridays, Dungeons and Dragons on Sundays, stuff like that. And so we've figured out that just adding more events throughout the week results in more people coming in and more opportunities for people to find excuses to come back. And so we've added on trivia both Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays more of our like geek nerd kind of trivia. Wednesdays more of like our pop culture, current events trivia.
And real quick, what are the numbers? Now that you implemented that event, what was the revenue differential there?
So we do, on a week-to-week basis, we are regularly ranking about 15 to 30 people. So we'll bring in an extra $1,000, $1,500 just from those trivia events alone. And then we do a special one at the end of the month. So like this past month, we did like a Marvel themed trivia. And this month, we're actually doing like a Disney themed trivia. So it's the last Tuesday, we do a different theme. And those will literally pack out the house. Just like be on the lookout for RSVPs. It's like clicking for like a Taylor Swift concert. The RSVP links go up and they immediately close out. So last time we had about 150 people show up. We packed out the entire that kind of like side door patio area, and it was a great time. We had cocktail servers everywhere, bartenders operating off of that side bar, and God, we were making anywhere from $2,000, $3,000 plus, just like eyeballing it.
And what's so good about this is on a Tuesday, bringing the extra $3,000, but that's not counting. So let's say 4 weeks, it's 2 days out of each week, that's 8 days total. One of those days is a special programming day. The other days you say you're doing another $1,000, so that's $7,000 plus that $3,000, the extra $10,000 a month simply from throwing an in-house event. And a lot of times people in the industry, they say they don't have time to do these things, but it seems like you have to make time for them.
Yeah, so that's kind of where people that are super motivated, we actually have an in-house event coordinator person. He's not official in the title. He currently runs all our events. He actually works in the kitchen, and he was like, hey, I really wanted to run like Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, I really want to run karaoke. And so we let him run with the ball, and he's put on like a consistent consumer base each and every week, and it's grown more and more and more into where he's actually pretty much our regular events person. So he hosts like pretty much 6 out of our 7 events out of any given week.
If he's coming out of the kitchen, how is he financially incentivized in this process?
For him, it's there are 2 different ways. The financial incentivization is kind of more like contract work, stuff like that. Maybe it's a little bit different from like his usual clock in. But for him, it's kind of, we just struck gold. For him, it's a lot more just creative incentivization. him getting to express his creativity in a way that he may not be able to in other venues. He's taken advantage of the property that we have, and he's taken advantage of the multiple different bars we have at each area to like host these different events. And he's super flexible, and he's done a phenomenal job. He's been here pretty much since I've started here 2 years ago, and that's pretty much where he gets kind of his licks in. And so any bar managers or any operations managers out there that have those like super creative minded people, the people that are super incentivized just creatively to try to host events and try to like start a following for themselves, really do take advantage of that.
And so one of the biggest transitions that's happened in the hospitality industry that some people may be aware of, some others are not. But of course, social media has always been a large driver of how people are getting people in their venue, taking pictures of the beautiful food, the cocktails, or the beautiful staff members. But then on the other side of social media, there are people who are just content creating. They're building communities around certain topics, certain interests, just like somebody would be Dungeons and Dragons or trivia. So of course, you're gonna look at this situation like, oh, we should do trivia just like them. Like, no. They work at an arcade bar. They have a compatible environment for those type of event concepts, whereas you could be working in a venue that's, highly geared towards brunch, and then now you can connect with maybe female creators who have a community of female entrepreneurs who could then congregate around that. But I think that's one of the things that the industry could use more of, is just empowering the other sub-operators in this industry to kind of flesh out their ideas.
Yeah, so it's not even just the in-house people. Like, obviously John here does a great job of engaging the community in more ways than one, not just through like speed rails or craft clash or like the bartender focused events. He does it through like wellness and through like smaller like networking events. There was one out in Houston where it was just basically a combination of like drinks and just playing games and just people getting to know each other. And so really study your clientele. Like John said, we're not only are we an arcade bar, we're a medieval themed arcade bar with like axe throwing and dragons and knights everywhere. So that's the kind of demographic that we appeal towards. And so just kind of study your demographic, study kind of the area that you're in, go to other bars, just to establish connections with them, but just to see what works for them. There's a Marlowe's down in downtown Austin does like Bolo Bingo. I'd like the Bolo type bingo, and they bring in a consistent crowd every single week.
I see R&B bingo for places, where they have that type of vibe.
Yeah, so jazz clubs have different events. The last bar I used to work at was a live music event, and so we would use the stage not just for live music, but also for like comedy and anything that is like super interactive as like an audience member. So
I've been seeing some other stuff on social media too, where some of these concepts are traveling. We touched on it earlier. The NFL, the NBA, these are traveling event concepts at the end of the day. They don't own the real estate. And I mean, you can do the same thing with, I've seen like dating shows, improv shows, because you brought up stand-up comedy. And so now people are now taking stand-up comedy and making it interactive, where now they're bringing the audience up and getting them a chance to be involved in it. But in between those events, they're running YouTube channels. They're making sure that they maintain everybody's attention. I'm even seeing stuff like pitch a friend competition. Have you seen those out here yet?
I've heard of them, but I haven't seen them in this immediate area. I'm sure somebody in Austin has come up with an idea for it by now.
Yeah, it's where the friends go up and they try to pitch to other friends on why you should date their friend. Whole PowerPoint presentation. They send out applications beforehand, so they're vetting the people, which at the end of the day is a different type of marketing. Like by telling people you should be involved with us, it also gives you a chance to market it. So, but that's all development. It all takes work. And I think that's something that the hospitality industry hasn't really fully awakened to how they can do that, because I'm not even seeing the big companies do that.
Right. And it's sometimes it's just being willing to fail at something. There is going to be events that flop. There's going to be sporadic dips and highs and lows. I'll use trivia as an example. It does really well during the summertime period because all the teachers, all the students are out and they're just looking for stuff to do. People that are super willing to like challenge themselves like mentally, their brain power. But when they go back to school, we see a bit of a dip across the board when it comes to like trivia, karaoke, some of the weekly events. And to that, I just say, like, don't be afraid to keep going with it, even if it is a bit seasonal, because as soon as you do cancel it, as soon as you put it back off to the side, it's going to take you a lot longer to rebuild that audience that you just lost via like canceling an event just because one or two showings didn't turn out the way that you wanted to.
It's just like hitting the gym, man. You got to be consistent. Now, there is something especially we both bartending strong backgrounds. We are both strong believers in the cocktail class as the base event that I think everybody in our position should start off with. What are your thoughts on that?
So we've done, us as Pinballs as a company have done a few cocktail classes in the past. We've also done like whiskey tastings, rum tastings, tequila tastings. Our North location is very prevalent to those kinds of events. They have a whiskey lounge / whiskey bar that is focused on like upscale concepts, things along those lines. I got a chance to teach a mocktail class, not this past January, but actually 2 Januaries ago, January 2024. And we literally packed the whole house. It was like 30 plus people all interested in engaging in like dry January and coming up with creative ways to quench their thirst without having to get themselves liquefied in the alcoholic nonsense. And so it's about like studying your audience, especially in like the downtown areas, the more hospitality heavy districts. And I would also say, don't be afraid to cater to outside of just industry. Everybody in the industry, every bartender in the industry to some extent knows how to bartend. So that cocktail class may not be specifically for them. You're looking for clientele that are interested in throwing on a party at their place, and they're looking for a few neat party tricks to show off to their friends. Yeah. You're looking for the hobbyists, the enthusiasts, things along those lines. So when you're planning those kinds of events, think about the spirit. Reach out to your local rep, see what kind of budget because it is all in the name of education. See what kind of product they may have available. See what kind of new stuff they're trying to push out. See what they've been incentivized to try to like push out into the market, and then get the customers engaged just physically, like the process of making the cocktail, getting to actually taste and getting to experience the spirit. Or the lack of spirit, like the mixers and things along those lines. There are so many different ways you can go about it. Syrup companies, we have like Liquid Alchemist. There's that puree company in Dallas that'll be at Tales of the Cocktail next week, and they're looking for opportunities to push out into the market. And so that's kind of tying it all in. Just focus on your demographic and focus on expanding beyond your limits.
And I mean, to even go even further than that, I think these cocktail classes, you need to understand you're not going to get rich off of them. You're not going to make a lot of money. Understand that you're in it to build the relationships with the people who are coming. So with that in mind, industry people, they're great. And that would be a totally different class than a cocktail class. I would probably be better geared towards product education or maybe some operational training. When it comes to a cocktail class, you want to be reaching out to people who are event planners, I believe. People who can come in, be able to witness your operational execution in a very, very controlled environment. They're seeing how you interact with people. And then likewise, using it as a chance to allow them to network with each other too. Because with cocktail classes, you can do it a few different ways when it comes to operations. You can have them all rotate behind the bar, getting their drinks made, or you set up cocktail stations where you have 4 to 6 people having to share ingredients, and it allows them to talk and stuff like that. But, understanding that there's a limit. Probably 20, 30 people is a good max on it. Otherwise, you start really straining the whole system because it's not built for, 40 people making drinks in a venue most of the time. And then lastly, making sure you market it appropriately. Because if you don't let anybody know about it, nobody's going to pull up. And you just inviting your friends and family, it kind of defeats the purpose unless you're trying to create some media around it, which you can then put into portfolios and showcase people that you do this stuff.
Yeah, so that ROI isn't going to come across immediately when you're putting it on a spreadsheet. I mentioned this earlier, just giving them more excuses to come back. And understanding that you have, it doesn't even need to be like your manager or some like spirits guide or an expert or anything along those lines. Get one of your bartenders to go out and teach the class. Show them that you have bartenders behind the bar that know what they're doing and know what they're talking about, and incentivize them to prosper their own potential regular base, their own potential community.
Because they don't get a chance to talk to a lot of people one-on-one, especially if they're busy thick in the weeds on a Friday or Saturday.
No, yeah, exactly. And to your point, like 20 to 30 people is kind of that sweet spot. You think about like serving a section. 20 to 30 people, a few tables, that's a little bit, you start getting into the 40, 50s, and now you're trying to serve everybody at once. And especially when it comes to like classroom education settings, you want to make sure everybody's absorbing that information. A little harder to do when there's 40, 50, 60 people all in a room versus getting the chance to regularly interact and make like real connections with like the 20 or 30 people that'll show up.
And I will say the most ROI for the event that I've seen is when they pair food with it. If you do want to make some money off of it, create a tasting menu, create some appetizers, maybe limit them to maybe they make 2 drinks, so that way they can build up the appetite. Maybe they end up doing only sample sizes of the drinks, so that way you can kind of push them into the bar afterwards.
Yeah, and then just feel free to showcase what you can do behind the bar afterwards. So give them a little sampler, be like, hey, you can make, we'll use a tequila. You can make like this margarita with this tequila, but we're gonna go to our bar afterwards and we can make all sorts of like cool, crazy stuff. And again, get your bartenders involved, get your staff involved, like give them the creative freedom to really make that, networking, that connection with their customers, with the regulars, and again, give them an excuse to come back. If it's not necessarily for the bar, then they're going to come back exclusively for that bartender, which is only going to help. And either way, money is money, right? They're paying food, they're tipping out the bartenders, and that's that.
And there you have it. You need to have an event development process happening inside the house. Your bartenders, these are ways that they can kind of contribute to it all, and you can work with these brand sponsors to cover the products, so that way some of the ticket sales can go towards the labor. Who knows? I don't know if that's legal or not. I'm just saying stuff. But on top of that, the bigger companies have event coordinators. Even your smaller business, you need to figure out who that is. Zach here, amazing event coordinator. They operate out of Pinballs. Had a chance to work with them on the event. Did a great job. Me, I'm mobile. If you need help setting this stuff up, educating, marketing, operating, getting connected to the right people, hit me up. B2C Creative. We're out of here.